not challenges, but actual setbacks where we actually feel like we got knocked a couple steps back, or we feel like quitting. And so we're going to be going over some psychological exercises, even some Kriya type movement with breath to allow us to release some of that energy and then also uh, adapt and keep building from here. So instead of collapsing under the pressure, we're able to expand and recognize the foundation, the launch pad that we're at right now, so that we can project yourself into the future. And so what's something that you guys are dealing with right now? What is a setback? Share in the chat something that you're dealing with, like a recent moment that really felt like you got knocked down a few notches, knocked off the horse, you fell off the wagon. Because this is something that's going to be a reflection of an opportunity for yourself. But we need to know what that is. So let's bring that to the surface. A lot of times we ignore these things. We ignore the things that make us feel defeated. And we tend to move along, and all that just gets buried down. And then we carry it with us. So again, in the comments saying job loss, that's good. I was just talking to somebody a few minutes ago who talked about their pet had a gruesome death yesterday. Yesterday in one of my businesses as well. For myself, I had two good things happen, and right at the same time, one not even comparable bad thing happened. And it was just like, wow, why do I care about this one other thing that happened that I had control of, that I could have stopped from happening? But it was like I had to do what I'm about to show you guys. I had to breathe through it. I had to let it go. I had to release it. I had to reflect on what it's revealing to me, which was definitely very apparent after taking a moment to look into it. Any other setbacks you guys are dealing with? Guys, I get messages all the time from people talking about things. A lot of times it's problems that are setbacks. So this is what we can do to release the setback. I'll get right back into one exercise, and I have 2 or 3 that we're going to do. So shaking with sounds, and then we're going to emphasize an exhale. So think about the inhale, guys. Think about the inhale. What is that? That's being scared. That's being tense. I mean, even if you do it without the scared energy, that's surprise, that's shock, that's awe. Not all negative. I mean, obviously we need the inhale. Think about the exhale. All of our words happen on an exhale. It's how we actually release tension and express ourselves. The inhale has this it is nourishing, but if taken in excess, if we're taking more inhales than exhales, then the balance gets off kilter. It's almost like having too much energy. Too much caffeine is not going to lead, not that caffeine gives you energy, just makes it so you don't realize you're tired. And then your adrenal glands have to work to keep you up and running. And then that's really what the good feelings, the energy from caffeine is, because you're tricking your body into thinking that it's not tired, even though it is. Okay, so emphasize on the exhale. as good as inhales feel, the exhales go deeper. The exhales, you can really feel the release from down in your legs, down in your centers that are craving safety. The legs, where you feel grounded, where you feel alive. And so, if you have a setback, first thing that you do is stand feet hip width apart. Let's see if I can go all the way back so I'm on the camera. Feet hip width apart and shake. And when you're shaking, we'll just do this for 2 minutes. So, guys, when you're shaking, take a moment. I'll take a moment since I started too early. Take your big toes, and if they're coming in, mine are because I played hockey and 2 small skates my entire life. So if they're coming in, what I like to do is plant my big toe, internally rotate my foot, my leg really, plant my big toe, and then externally rotate at the hip. And then that holds that big toe out as you do that. And then from here, you're going to press in the ball of your big toe and then reach your little toe, your little toe out. And so now you're planted, and then try and see if you can feel an arch in between the balls of your sole. So there's an arch there, and then there's an arch on the inside of your foot. So you want to see if you can arch in between the balls and then arch by just lifting up. So you're lifting up through almost like the center of your legs, through the core of your body into this area right here, the 2 inches below the belly button, and then you allow your tailbone to waterfall down, like you allow your tailbone to reach towards the ground, and then you can set your upper body on top of that. Relax your arms, and with that, you can bend your knees and just start shaking up and down, keeping your torso just going straight up and down. We don't need to move your torso. It's just your knees going forward. It's dropping you down. You're feeling your elbows loose. And you might start feeling a pulsation in your breath. And really just emphasize the exhales. You'll just feel like, ha, 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 as you breathe. And then we'll do 3. Close your eyes if you feel safe. We'll do 3 audible ha's. Ha, okay? Inhale. 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 Start to slow yourself down. Come to stillness. The breath is 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 6-second exhale. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can return to regular breathing. So that resets your nervous system and primes it to handle life, to not collapse under the pressure, so that we're fortified. And the reason why I was asking you guys to bring up to the surface some setback that you're dealing with right now before we did that is so that we can wipe off the whiteboard, clear the slate, so to speak. I read the title and it's exactly what I needed. Yes, happy that you are here. So what else can we do? Guys, no matter what you're doing in life, like whatever you're doing, student, teacher, parent, child, entrepreneur, employee, video game player, mother, father, I think I mentioned parent already. No matter what you're doing, there's going to be patterns that show up in your life constantly. So these are some of the patterns. So let's go with, like, this is always going to happen in your life. Like, one, people leave. So the people that you feel like, is that even, let me get this up. Get up. All right. So no matter what happens, one thing that's going to be true is people are going to leave. Two, there's going to be some point in your life where nothing works. So these are potential setbacks. So things break. So, and I'm talking about major things: health, finance, shelter, like housing, relationships. So relationships, and then that will usually lead you to question if I have what it takes. These are universal challenges. These are universal challenges that we all get to deal with on this plane. Nothing works, things break, people leave us. We question if I have what it takes. And this is how we build our strength. This is how we build our resiliency, because it's just a cycle. It's just a cycle. A lot of times these things are happening now that we don't even realize they're happening, because we've been able to conquer things breaking, where when we were 18 years old, we couldn't handle those things. So think about the things that you thought were important at 18 compared to what you think is important now. You can see that you've been graduating in your ability to handle circumstances. And what we've been led to believe in school is that if we do everything right, we get to graduate and we are somehow at the finish line. And they're really, that's a fallacy. There is no finish line. This is all a progression. This is all a cycle. So we get good at certain aspects of our life, we go through that cycle, and then we ascend and we go through that cycle again. and the lessons get more and more challenging, just like a video game. We're developing our skill sets, we're developing our characters. So that level 49 is a lot more difficult than level 8. But you have a lot more capacity to get through level 49. If you would have just jumped from level 8 to 49, you would be smoked. And so that's what life is that we allow ourselves capability. And in terms of setbacks, of like being knocked back a few steps, our ability to keep on moving through that is necessary for us to keep going, for us to keep growing. Damn, I'm late. What did I miss? So if you're late, let us know what setback you're going through right now. Definitely have been having a tower moment. Everything is collapsing once again. Once again. And let me finish reading the comment. Everything is collapsing once again. Tired of feeling hopeless and powerless. Hopeless and powerless. So I've got the next thing to help you out. All of the above. All that happened to me within a year, and I have had to learn quick. All that. So they're talking about what I wrote on the whiteboard. All that happened to me within a year. What's everything? What do you feel is collapsing? It's a good question. What did you learn? What was the outcome? Yes, that's where we're going right now, is the questions we can ask ourselves. How can we reframe the mindset around these patterns? So what I just wrote on the ground, people will leave you. Those are all neutral things. Things will break. Those are neutral things. The feeling and the question of, do I have what it takes? Neutral. It's neutral for us to ask that question. It's everything that we put on top of that and we layer on top of somebody leaving me. That's what determines our ability to grow through the process, or to just like allow it to slow us down and get us one step closer to just giving up and ending it all. Breakup, health, finances, family problems, narcissistic abuse. Okay. Thank you for sharing. I leaked that life is a cycle. I learned that life is a cycle. I'm sure is that what's supposed to be. My perspective shifted and I'm doing things that make me look crazy to people who've known me for a while. The older I become, the more my mind opens, and there is much I need to learn. All right. So let's go over some patterns that people get into, and then we'll do another movement activity. The movement activities that we're doing are like the most basic, like that shaking, most basic thing. The next thing that we do, super basic. You guys are looking for, like, we do this for hour long of that stuff in my membership. Selfexpansion.app is the website where you can learn a little bit more about that. Got a free trial as well. We do psychological reprogramming exercises first to tune our body. So I'm just putting a camera there and I'm going to erase the whiteboard. We do some exercises first to get our psychology revealed, and then we work through our body, guys, because our mind is not just in our head. Everything that is happening to us is happening in our body, right? You guys are looking for a book, The Body Keeps the Score is one of the books where that talks about that. Okay, so let's see some examples of what we can do. So let's say you are reacting emotionally. So imagine what that is to react emotionally. So we'll say that's the old way. So reacting and responding, reacting, 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 and respond we could make an argument about that, those being different. But what's important is that we respond from a vision, like that we have developed a reasoning for the response. A reaction emotionally, where it's just happening instantaneously, is different than responding from a vision or with intention, is another way of putting that. And that happens because we paused. So a pause will do that. Now, I had a friend say, anything that you would normally come to hear, see if you can wait, you can pause and reflect on it for 24 hours, create an intention or a vision, and then respond. And for some of us, this seems insane. Insane. So if 24 hours isn't there, then see if you can wait 24 minutes. And if 24 minutes is still out of reach for you, are you able to separate the circumstance from the response by this? And even just paying attention to the breath will allow clarity on the intention and the true vision that you're looking for, so that you're not just doing this, because this is usually just going to be resistance, right? So we're just pushing away, because this right here is 100% just survival mechanism. So you're usually in fight or flight, you're pushing away. And as you guys know, our grandma's been saying this forever, but what you resist, what? Persists, right? I'm not even going to write that out because my marker can't really write on the angle. So what you resist persists. Now, another example of behavior when something happens. Remember what we were talking about. People leave, things break, we start to question ourselves, and also you feel like nothing is, like, basically everything you do is wrong. And that can lead us to doing something else, which is just isolation. So setback, I'm not sure if this is even on the screen. Setback equals isolation. I'm just going to make this go up a little bit higher. All right, setback equals isolation. And so how we can get around this is give ourselves permission, which a lot of times we don't have this permission, which is why we have to give it to ourselves. We have been taught and trained in school by our parents, by everyone, that we must be perfect. There's only one right answer, and that gives people the feeling that isolation or ghosting everybody is better than doing it wrong. And so we must give ourselves permission to perform, let's call it unperfectly. Perform unperfectly. I'm just going to look at comments for a second. We have to give ourselves permission to show up imperfectly and authentically. I'll put that down. Authentically. We can even say honestly. So honestly and authentically aren't really worked on in school, are they? We don't really get taught this in school. There's a lot of things we don't get taught in school that are very important. What we get taught in school is what is correct. What is the one right answer? That's what we're looking for in school. And a lot of this is based on, science that is also questionable. But we don't question it because we're not allowed to. But guys, authentically and honestly, this is actually the most powerful way to show up. I mention all of the time that if there's a field and it interacts with another field, the field that is in most alignment is the one that overtakes the other field. Alignment comes from this. This is another way of saying alignment. So being authentic is actually the most powerful field. And when you show up authentically, it's okay if you're unperfect. People can see that. Giving yourself permission to show up unperfectly, as long as it's honest, authentic. Another way of saying that is from the heart, right? From love. I don't think that's even on the screen. So honest, authentic, from love. The older I become, the more my mind opens, and there's so much I need to learn. Thank you for sharing that. I've got more that I'm going to go over in a second. I'm just going to be looking at some of these comments right now. Huge lesson is not to let just anyone in my life. Learning that I don't need to tolerate anything less than what I have, what I deserve and want. That I can trust so fast to let go of people. In business, there's this concept: fire fast and hire slow. Fire fast, hire slow. So what that means is that usually entrepreneurs, like I've had many employees in my life, usually when you fire somebody and you ask yourself, when has this person started becoming a problem? It was a long time ago. And you wait because as humans, we feel like things will get better and we don't really feel like acting on it. And that person just keeps on eating at the business and doing things that are out of alignment to the integrity of the organization. And it starts to affect and impact everyone else that's involved. Your clients, your other employees, yourself. It just eats away at everybody. And so it's almost like the moment that you start feeling like this person is not on the same ship as this whole thing, you fire them. But the caveat to that is that you hire slow, because that won't really be as much of an issue if you go through a process and really make sure that the people that you're bringing onto the team are worthwhile, they're in alignment. Because a lot of times when you're hiring, you're just hiring who's available. And that's the easy thing to do, the quickest thing to do, because you need some help now. That will cause problems. So it's the same concept with your life. Hire slow, bring people in slowly, get to know them, and then the second half of that equation. Try not to spend 10 years of your life waiting for somebody to change, guys. Nobody's changing. Here's another lesson. Every single person does what they think is correct. So if you're trying to convince somebody else what they did was wrong, what are you doing? Everyone does what they think is right. You could try to understand their perspective. That would be the healthier way. But if you've already got beyond that and you just think that what they did was incorrect, you disagree with them and you're just fighting to get them to understand why what they did was wrong, that'll never work. Everyone always does what they think is the best option in that moment. For you to understand maybe what led them to that is also worthwhile. But you'll never be able to convince somebody that what they did was wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. Bang those gongs. It actually doesn't come through on the microphones. On the regular microphones, they don't come through. I actually haven't tried on this little Rode. So with the gong, We don't just do this, especially not in the heart of the gong. Gongs, the way I was trained, have chakras just like we do. They have energy centers, and this would be the heart, and we never hit it right there. And it's more of a building up. And there's actually different spaces on this. So, like this quadrant has a different energy than this quadrant, has a different energy than this quadrant, has a different energy than this quadrant. So, when you're doing a gong bath, and let me just, when you're doing a gong bath, you're going through the different energies. You're going through the different energies of the gong. I don't even know if that comes through on the microphone. On my regular talking microphones, it doesn't really come through. Hey, Ra, here to learn from you. I'm really feeling imposter syndrome this week. That makes me question myself, feel paralyzed. How to move out of this feeling. So I kind of just went over that. That was, and you might have made that question beforehand, but that was this, the give yourself permission to perform authentically. Start there. And imposter syndrome is something that we all deal with, all of us. We all deal with imposter syndrome because there's a lot of us, as we move and as we progress realities, there's a lot of ourself that's attached to the old reality. And as we start to move, it's like we've got all of these strings, these energetic strings pulling us back to where we were. And so our ego, our mind that's trying to keep us safe and alive is like, whoa, 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 where are we going? We're not where we belong. And so you're going to continuously get this. And your ability to, with grace, work your way through that will allow you to ascend through more and more lessons in life, which will get more and more difficult. It's not like you get easier and easier. It gets actually more difficult. It's your capacity to handle more difficult challenges increases. Don't even worry about that. You've got you. Keep going. Not sure what that's replying to. Do not fall back to old patterns of reactions, internal and external, not to believe that victimized. Okay, it seems like I'm really far behind. Past year left 24 years. So in this past year, I left a 24-year unhealthy marriage, lost both parents, left in difficult situation with finances, learning so much, got to feel it to heal it so hard. Dad's funeral next week, toughest year. What did I just say? The challenges will increase. The challenges will increase, guys. I had a 10-year career where I had to explain to people that in the gym. People come in, they're doing workouts. It's really, really difficult. They're getting sore. They're like, I can't wait for this to, get past this part. It's like, I was in a high performance gym. Like, so I was pushing people to their limits. It was my job to make them the most capable. It's like, it's not going to get easier. You're going to get more capable. And what we do in here is going to get harder beyond what you can even imagine right now. And taking them through that process and then gets to the point where you actually start to crave challenge. And then you watch yourself overcome it. You get to look back at how far you've come. It will be the making of me, and I'll help others find a life they live. Okay, strength, love, and so much light to you, Angel. Okay. Yes, definitely don't fall into the victim mentality. You'll keep attracting more opportunities, circumstances, and experiences. Again, breath, intention, mantras. What you resist persists is the book Butterflies Are Free to Fly. It's in the book Butterflies Are Free to Fly. Interesting. Never heard of that book. All that becomes good habits to keep. To not make circumstances mean anything. I love that. I really come to the point very often that nothing is circumstantial. It's never about the situation that you're in right now. It's the pattern that you're carrying to this certain situation that's revealing an inconsistency that you get to realign. You get to realign because of the circumstance. So the circumstance is to be thanked, it's to be honored. And it's our own pattern that gets to be upgraded. It's like a natural way of life upgrading our software. To not make circumstances mean anything, not to make it affirm that it's always happening to me. It's always happening to you because you're carrying that pattern if it is always happening to you. And so if you recognize something is always happening to you, then obviously who's the common denominator? What is the common denominator? You are the common denominator. Okay. Love this so much. Thank you. This is Pergola Divine Timing. I'm not sure what pergola is, but I think maybe perfect divine timing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Unless they want to get healthy, then they can change. Wow, even through the mic, that is so powerful. Oh, so you guys did hear the gong. Maybe I'll do some more of it because you guys really heard that? Because that's another way to clear the system. I have told many parents' children this all the time at that exact moment. The person is doing the very best they are capable of in the exact moment. Yes, everyone is. Everyone's a progression, guys. When you start to realize that you progress, when you start to have forgiveness for self and start to like release the shame and the anger that you have for yourself, you start to recognize that you are a progressing human through this life. And then you're able to recognize that in others and give them grace because they're on their journey. It doesn't mean that they're lower than you or higher than you. It just means that they're on their journey. And right now, you guys are in alignment to be learning together for your own individual journeys, which satisfies the whole group of us within this cosmic consciousness. Thank you for sharing the background. I didn't know that about the gongs. What if that sound bothers me? What does that mean? I wasn't like, ideally, I would come into it a little bit more gradually. I would graduate you through it. Yeah, gradually. And if it bothers me, again, back to what I just said a few minutes ago, nothing is circumstantial. It's you that is bothered by yourself when it's listening to something else. And it's the same. If someone walked in your room and called you an asshole and you got bothered by it, it would be the same thing. It's not that person bothering you. It's from within you that is being bothered. So acceptance is key. If you're not accepting what is, then you are in disagreement with the entire universe. That's what attachment to something that isn't gives you. You're basically an enemy of everything because you're saying that shouldn't be when it is. If something is happening, it's happening perfectly as it should be. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening. How do one deal with missing an old version of yourself, a different spark? That's attachment to something that isn't here now either. So accept that you no longer have that. And a lot of people go through this with even just like physical body breaking down. Like, why don't my legs work like my knees work like they used to when I was 20? Why doesn't my face look a certain way? How am I getting this fat? Why are my eyes not? Guys, I have to do this to look at like little fine print. I mean, some of this I can't even read. I mean, I don't know if the I can't even read this thing right here. I'm sure there was a point in life where I could read everything on this bottle. I mean, how would they put stuff on this bottle that not even a 17-year-old could read? I don't ever remember when I was younger looking at like a bottle and not being able to read everything on it. Acceptance. But sometimes I get confused as to how much is in my control. That's the paradigm here. Or the paradox. The brain also is like obviously struggling to hold on to words. That's the paradox, is that there's a perspective that you can honor of, I'm not in control of anything, I can just go with the flow. And then there's another perspective that is, I am in control of everything. I am choosing all of this. And the thing is that fundamentally they're opposites. And at the same time, they can both be true. What is this? I'm going to try and find this quote. The opposite of a truth is a lie. The opposite of a grand truth is... I don't have this correct. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. It's Niels Bohr. Cool. That guy's come up in a lot of... how do I do this? Boom. All right. So maybe you won't be able to see it, but it says the opposite of a fact. The opposite of a truth is a lie. The opposite of a grand truth is another grand truth. And so for little things, the opposite is likely a lie. But for big, giant things, like I am in control of all of this, I am God, that would be a grand truth. The opposite would be like, I am not in control of any of this. I am just happening within this existence. That would be another grand truth. And the thing is, they're both opposites and both true. Explain that to yourself. Okay. Do I go on with the thing that I was talking about, or do I do like the whiteboard? I think we did enough on the whiteboard. Here's one more important thing to know. One more important thing to know, and I'm going to write it out just so that we have some... Why does this thing keep falling? So that we have some... I'm not going to write it out. Let's go to the gong. What I was going to say is that the results that we have in life are not you. Like like the results of our actions, the results of the circumstance, that's not the real you. Like we are not defined by our results. We're defined by our response of that. Are we happy? Are we sad? Are we shameful? Are we guilty? Do we blame as a response to the results? Or are we forgiving? Are we accepting? Are we hopeful? Are we loving? Are we kind? Are we happy? Are we joyous? Are we satisfied? Can be the same results. Your response is up to you. And that's what you're mostly in control of. I'll say that. That's where you choose who you are. Because the results, the circumstances, that's a wild deck of cards right there. And how we respond is what carries us through that deck. You guys want a little gong? As much as it sucked to hear you attract the circumstances and people in your life, it's energy-based. Law of attraction. So shift your focus, mantra, attention law of attraction. So this is what I'll do. I'm going to do an exercise. You guys can stay seated in a chair, or you can sit down on the ground. And we're going to play a gong. And what we're going to do is surrender to the circumstance. So we're going to surrender to the circumstance, to a higher plan, a higher entity, God, the universe, divine timing, and we're going to do that through sound. We're going to do that through breath. We're going to do that through movement. So I just want to get this, make sure I'm in the center here. Don't think I am. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so let's sit down, bring our, once again, this is very simple. Sit down. As you sit down, you try and see if you can feel a locked in position. Everything is locked in. So not so much tight, but locked in and stable. Stable spine, stable shoulders, the heart feels stable, as opposed to kind of being a little bit loose. So lock in. A lot of times you might need to adjust your hips to feel this locked in position. And then bring your hands up to your shoulders. And we're just going to be inhaling left as we twist left. And we can actually keep our head straight. So we get the counter rotation in our neck as well. And we're exhaling torso to the right. So inhaling torso to the left, exhaling torso to the right. And just work through that for about 2 minutes, keeping your head straight. And by request, I'm just going to play a little bit more of this. Take a deep inhale and hold. Surrender to your higher power. Release the breath. So once again, I actually don't know. I just realized I was off camera on IG, but I don't really know how that sounds, but I got good feedback. People said that it sounded good before, so just went, I don't actually know how it sounds. Any microphone I tried before, it didn't really sound very good. So guys, learn your story. Learn your setback. Learn, like someone was saying, my parents died. Like that's the beginning part of your story. When you like, I lost my house, financial, all of that's the beginning part of your story. So learn your story, be aware of your story, and be aware of yourself as the hero, the main character in that story. And there's a fill in the blank after that. And that fill in the blank will play itself out. You know it will. It's going to happen. Align yourself to the main character. Align yourself knowing that this circumstance, this quote villain, is all of the things that you're currently working on that's holding you within this aspect of reality. And when you're able to integrate the lesson and grow through it, then you are ready for the next chapter. Whereas you're going to go through that cycle all over again at an ascended level. And so recognize your story, recognize yourself as capable, know what your authentic response is, and move through the releasing of your current chapter into the next chapter, which is on the other side of this challenge, as opposed to just staying where you are and letting it all collapse down into you. So you think about, there's a process we can go with that. So as I said, what's one challenge that we're currently facing? So what is the challenge? What is the challenge? What is it trying to teach me? Is this reoccurring? Because if it is, then we know we have some common denominator work to do. What would the greatest expression of myself do in this scenario? This is sort of like that what would Jesus do thing, you know, those wristbands that people used to wear, except for you're asking it about yourself. What would my greatest expression of self do? One to two courageous acts today. Guys, this word courageous comes from Let me actually write that. Let me actually know what I'm talking about here. So courageous comes from the same word, courage, heart. So courage comes from acting from the heart. And so when we're looking at this, what is the challenge? What is it here to teach me? Is it reoccurring? What would the greatest expression of self do? What is one or two activities that I can do today from the heart? That's what is the process that you can work through when you have a setback. You can just go through that list. And if you're doing that, share in the chat or the comments what one of those one or two acts that you can do. And when you have that activity, sometimes it's scary. And so, what you can do, I'll give you another exercise. Oh, I got to move that. When you have that courageous exercise, grab onto it in your heart. Put your right hand on your heart and grab onto that, and your left hand on your belly. And take inhales and extend the exhales. Take inhales into your heart. Surrender the exhales. And as you're inhaling into that activity, inhale light, inhale power, inhale courage. Release fear, release tension. Release judgment. And really start to imagine yourself completing. Start to feel into what that person feels like. And recognize that you're holding yourself. Even here, by yourself, you are held. And you choose courage. And with that, you have your next steps. Guys, if you're watching the replay of this, go do it. I was going to say comment, but I'd rather you just go do it. We don't have to eliminate the challenges. We don't have to wait for them to go away. That's ignoring what they are. They're here as a reflection of the door of opportunity that is available for you to open and walk through into your next chapter. And so we don't need to treat these challenges, these circumstances, these scenarios like enemies to be pushed away, ignored, defeated. They're not enemies. This is your training ground. And you're doing better than you think. We are all doing better than we think. All right. You guys at raw_of_earth on Instagram. If you guys aren't yet following me, find me there. And selfexpansion.app is another Instagram and website for a lot of these exercises that we've done. I really enjoyed this. Thank you guys for the comments. Thank you guys for the authentic shares. And I trust that you will be acting in courage after this. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.